What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thank you for tapping in. Today, we're going to do a recap of Brandon Figueroa versus Magsayo. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate your feedback. Thanks for joining. So, over the weekend of March 4th, Brandon Figueroa and Magsayo fought for a interim title at 126 pounds for the WBC in the 12-round match, and it was actually a pretty decent fight. It was action-packed. It wasn't your most skillful fight. You saw a good bit of rock'em sock'em, but you also got a chance to see a little bit of what people have been saying about Magsayo and his skill set in relation to his mentor, Manny Pacquiao. So the fight starts with a little bit of feeling out in the first round. Neither guy really got into their typical way of approach. You saw Magsayo kind of try to find a way to pick his shots. He really didn't let his hands go, and he's a combination guy. You actually saw Brandon Figueroa try to box from the outside and use various footwork. He stance switched several times. They both look really uncomfortable with the other. Fortunately, even though Brandon Figueroa was coming up from 122 pounds, he physically looked like he belongs at 126. So there was no significant size advantage either way. I thought he and Magsayo looked like a good physical match, though the styles would clash at some point. Going into the second and third round, you start to see the men continue some of the same things they were doing, but you could see their normal MO start to take over. Their standard approach start to take over. You saw Magsayo try to set up combinations and let his hands go, which is very Pacquiao-esque, except he was missing a lot at first. You saw Figueroa seem to want to fight on the inside, but I guess somebody told him he needed to try and box Magsayo first. And it just wasn't working successfully. And I thought despite missing, 3 or 4 punches out of the 5 or 6 punch combinations, I thought Magsayo did a lot to control where the action happened. And I saw him just look like he tried to get his offense off more. So I thought that he did a pretty good job of winning the first 2 or 3 rounds. Figueroa finally got comfortable to where he started to close range, move on the inside and fight. And in the middle rounds, I thought it was a very competitive fight to the point where at one point, I think I had it 3-2 Magsayo. But then later in the fight, I started seeing the referee get a little bit more involved. And without warning, he actually took a point from Magsayo, because as Figueroa would punch with one hand, Magsayo would hook it with his opposite hand and then throw punches with this free hand. And eventually the referee grew tired of it. And without warning, he took a point, I believe, in the 9th round. And then he followed that up by taking a point in the 11th round. Now, this was very unfortunate because on my scorecard, it was actually the difference in the fight. I thought Magsayo did enough from a skill standpoint, ring generalship, clean, effective punching. When he got off his combinations later in the fight, he was able to land 5 out of 7, 4 out of 6. And he really let his hands go and did a good job of being very effective with his punches and his punch selection. I thought that was enough to win the fight. However, those 2 minus points is actually the difference for me. Now, the bigger controversy came on the scorecards, where some judges had this as a wide victory for Figueroa, and I completely disagree with those cards. It was so egregious that if not for the 2 lost points, Magsayo could have actually outboxed Figueroa like he did and lost this fight. Now, there's always going to be questions about what one judge is seeing versus another, but I don't disagree with the points being taken, but I definitely disagree with the final scorecards. There was only one, I think, came out 114 to 112. I thought that was indicative of the fight. Those 2 points really were the difference. I wouldn't mind seeing these 2 guys fight again, because I do feel like it was close enough for them to scrap for the title at some point if Rey Vargas doesn't come back down to 126 pounds, because he did just lose at 130. I don't know if he's going to pursue that path anymore now that he's lost. So he may come down and have to face one of these guys. It will be a rematch. If Vargas and Magsayo fight, it'll be the first time for Vargas and Brandon Figueroa, and I think that might be a good scrap as well. It'll be all action for sure. Also on the undercard, before we go, You had Jared Hurd in a fight against a young fighter who's 24 years old, Resendez. I can't remember his first name, but I can tell you that he thoroughly beat Jared Hurd. It looks like Hurd might have reached that turning point in his career where he's not a step up fight. He's not a gatekeeper. He's not even necessarily a tough out. He very much looked like a punching bag in this fight, and it was almost scary for him because it seemed like it should have been stopped before it was. He was eventually stopped, and he took a severe beating. I just don't know what the future will hold for him in boxing, especially at 160 pounds where he's moved up. He's a big guy. I mean, he's big enough to fight at 168, but I don't think he should because the punishment he took at 160 on Saturday night was a lot, and it seems like he's not going to make 154 ever again. But it was a little disappointing to see his return to the ring. I was pretty excited to see what he would bring after he had been out of the ring for a while, and it just didn't look good. Also, earlier in the night on the YouTube prelims, Trayvon Marshall got a nice stoppage in his fight, and he got in the pocket and he took out a veteran, Deloach. He beat him down. He got on the inside. He fought his opponent's battle, which was a in the phone booth type of thing, and he used a few short shots to catch him clean on the chin and put him down, and the referee stopped the fight. So I thought that he had a good showing. It's going to be time for him to make another step up. But I thought that this opponent, seasoned veteran in his 30s, was a good gauge of what Marshall needs to do next. And I think he's ready for the next level as well. So that's been our take on this weekend's boxing action on the Showtime PBC card. This has been T-Word from the Mic Check Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to donate to the channel via Cash App at $THAMICCHECK12. Remember, that's Cash App. Until the next time, this is T-Word. I'm out. Peace.